Indra. Mandalam 1, Suktam 10, Rishi, Madhuchandas Vaishwamitra, Devata, Indra, Chandas, Anushtup. Mandalam 1, Suktam 10, Rik 1.
गायम् विद्वा गायत्र्योऽर्थम् त्यर्कमर्थिनाः ब्रह्माणस्त्वा सदक्रतमुद्ध्वंसमीव ये विरे.
Singers of hymns sing to you. Worshippers render invocation. Speakers of truth were raised upwards by you. Doer of actions multitude, like bamboo cluster. Being metaphorically poetic is being truthful. Being metaphorically poetic is perhaps being truthful, considering that we live in a fractal world where everything is relatable to everything else, and metaphoric comparison is not just a product of poetic imagination, but a reflection of reality. The assertion in this verse that speakers of the truth were raised upwards by you is a reference to the notion that all material structures of creation are principally functional replicas of the manifest unknowable. This notion permits, and rightly so, the comparison of a bamboo cluster where one finds bamboo grass of all sizes, from tiny little shoots to full-grown, tall and strong stalks, all functionally the same, but appearing different, yet fostered by a single parent root assemblage underground, with each stalk of the cluster nurtured according to their development stage by the one of hundredfold doings. Indra is there too, doing the job assigned to him, keeping with his impeccable credentials and assisted ably by his immortal kinsfolk. The verse is an acclamation of this wonder. Mandalam 1, Suktam 10, Rik 2.
यस्रास्तानुमारोहद्भूर्यस्पष्टकर्त्वम् तदिन्द्रो अर्थम् चेदति यूतेन वृष्टिरेजति.
When verily ascending from height to height, he beheld many to be done. Indra awakens to that purpose. The bull moves with the herd. Rising up to make rain for the benefit of all beings. There are two meanings possible from this verse, as all three verbs used are in third person singular, and two possible subjects, the verse chanter and Indra, with each associated with one or two verbs respectively, or only Indra. The third option, where the chanter is the only subject, is not maintainable. If the verse refers to Indra only, then perhaps it describes the process of precipitation inside a cloud mass. As moisture-laden air rises in the troposphere, there is a gradual temperature drop resulting in condensation of the vapor into very small droplets, forming clouds that are not yet fully affected by the gravitational pull. But condensation is exothermic. The heat so generated pushes the cloud further up and to further condensation until the water drops become large enough to fall as rain. This is Indra awakening to his purpose and moving among his herd. A parallel can be drawn with this activity sequence of Indra and that of a mortal initiate's rise up the ladder of enlightenment to consciousness. Each rung reveals more truth that in turn impels and inspires the initiate to rise up further. Mandalam 1, Suktam 10, Rik 3.
युक्ष्वा हि केशिना हरिवृषणाकक्ष्यप्रा अथाल इन्द्रसोमपा गिरामुपसृतिम् चरा.
Do yoke surely maned pair of steeds, flank-filled bulls. Then, Indra, Soma drinker, do be engaged to hearing our invocation. Every other being a functional doppelganger. Sanskritam expressions seem to be more context-driven than guided by word-centric meanings. For instance, in this verse, the reference to bulls is essentially to indicate that the two steeds to be yoked to Indra's chariot are functional doppelgangers of Indra, the bull lord. The epithet of Soma drinker and the request conveyed that he should lend his ear to the supplicant's invocation is another assertion of the notion that the Vedic rain-making process or the mindful process of enlightenment stresses upon the use of Soma extracts, chanting according to specified meter and intonation, as well as the intent of the well-being of everything in existence in adherence to natural law. These three ingredients are declared to be mandatory for the success of the pursuit. It is interesting to note that with other combinations of material offerings, chanting and expressed intent, rain or other atmospheric phenomena are also attempted to be negated, as in stopping excess rain to avoid flooding, minimizing destruction during storms, etc. An atmospheric control technology that seems to be nonpareil and absolutely green. Mandalam 1, Suktam 10, Rik 4.
ये हि स्तोमान् अभिस्तराभिगृह्णीह्यारूपा ब्रह्म च नो वसोऽसचेन्द्र यज्ञम् च वर्धय.
Verily do come to hymns, to our voice. Verily do roar, do proclaim the unmanifest to me, and do associate with, and do enhance the sacrificial offering. Indra, master of substances. Indra, the doer of actions multitude. The theme of this verse is similar to the previous one, differing only in the expressions used. Being a paean to Indra, it is peppered with 6 verbs, the object of praise being the doer of actions multitude. Indra is perceived as being the underlying essence of all substances and activities. He is the theme of the hymn and its words. He is the voice that renders it, proclaiming the unmanifest supreme. He is the offering and the intent with which it is made. He is also what the invoker obtains upon making the offering. It is a curious case of Indra invoking Indra for Indra and obtaining him. This notion yet again emphasizes the functional similarity of everything in the universe and its fractal arrangement. Duality forces mortals to perceive things as being distinct. The challenge of life and living is to transcend these distinctions, to see Indra and the unmanifest that he represents in everything and everywhere. Perhaps this is no challenge at all, but a time-directed role play. Mandalam 1, Suktam 10, Rik 5.
उक्थमिन्द्रायधम् स्यंवर्धनम् पुरुनिष्ठिधे शक्रो यथा सुतेषु नोरारणः सख्येषु च.
Hymn for Indra, loudly read, just as magnifying the potency in soma extracts for accomplishing many deeds, and may he in friendly alliance rejoice. Sound and its multifarious effects. The theme of the essential equality between everything in existence as units of the one unmanifest singularity, every unit equally essential to make it work as it does, transforming from one state to another over and across time, is revisited in this verse. Any act, a physical one or a thought to an extent, has a definite karmic consequence and repercussions. Locally, beneficial to some, detrimental to others, but essential to existence as a whole. Since the focus here is on the rejoicing of all concerned, all acts mentioned in the verse must be towards this end. A prayer can be offered silently or rendered aloud. The emphasis on loud reading of chants for accomplishing many deeds with magnified potency signifies the supportive and enhancing positive effects of vibrations released by this act that need to reach the clouds and Indra to do what they are meant to. This commute is assisted by the rising hot air from the sacrificial altar. In yogic practice, the cited commute can be identified with the rise of the Kundalini from the lowest chakra to the highest, resulting in the practitioner becoming fully conscious of existence and the unmanifest. Upon terra firma, too, the effects of certain sounds played aloud have been identified in contemporary science as being able to boost growth factors in plants. In general, all matter is swayed by sound, and Vedic seers seem to have applied this knowledge for the benefit of all. Mandalam 1, Suktam 10, Rik 6.
सवित्सहित्वयीमहेतम् राजेतम् सुवीर्ये सशक्रपुतनश्च गजीन्द्रो वसुदयमानः.
Assuredly, we desire him in friendliness, him for wealth, him in benevolent force, and may he be competent, potent, wealthy, compassionate, Indra for us. Fundamental precepts for freedom. Knowing that everything in the universe is a unit of the unmanifest singularity is a notion. But realizing and living this notion is quite another. To achieve the latter objective, it may be necessary to adhere to certain fundamental precepts. The first is practicing humility, not just for optics, but in earnest. The second is to respect hierarchies in all domains that are expressions of natural law. This is the significance of the verse. Despite knowing that Indra and us are existential kin, We respect the natural hierarchy and engage with the atmospheric system or its personification deferentially, and also affirm our own position in the hierarchy at a level that is significantly lower, in complete and fervent humility. If we don't, then it is an indication that we live in bondage and remain many leagues away from freedom. This deduction must apply whether life and living is seen as a challenge to obtain freedom or as a time-directed role play adhering to the preordained script of existence. Mandalam 1, Suktam 10, Rik 7.
विवृतम् सुनिरजमिन्द्रत्वादातमित्यसाः गवामपव्रजम् प्रेधिकृष्णराधो अद्रिवः.
Your well-expressed giving, indeed, the glory of truth emerged from the unmanifest. Indra, do let loose herd of cows, do make wealth, one who is armed with thunderbolts. To the glory of known and unknown truths. This verse is more about the deference shown to an hierarchical superior. However, dwelling on the notion of transferring vibrations of hymnal renderings from around the sacrificial altar to the clouds and surroundings, alluded to in the earlier verses, it will be pertinent to mention that micro-diamonds are being synthesized commercially now, sonicating a suspension of graphite in organic liquid at atmospheric pressure and room temperature. In principle, this is an example from contemporary times of using sound to alter material characteristics, which is perhaps analogous to the process used in Vedic times. This does not explain the mechanism at play in rain-making using Vedic meteorology, but is certainly a parallel to ponder about. Another Vedic period technology that finds occasional mention is the sonication of rocks to modify their pliability to make sculpting relatively easier for the construction of rock-cut temples. Going by these likely examples, there certainly must have been some sound-based technology in use for a fairly wide range of applications in ancient times. The glory of truth that emerges from the unmanifest is far greater than what mortals are privy to or ever will be as mortals. Mandalam 1, Suktam 10, Rik 8.
नयित्वा रोदसी बुभेर्घायमानमिन्वतः देशस्वर्वतीरपस्रङ्गा अस्मभ्यम् धूनिः.
Both heaven and earth certainly not compel you thus, forcefully move heavenly waters, do direct clouds together to us thus. Truth and truthlets. The independence of the concept of Indra from the effects of processes that it controls and directs is stressed upon in this verse. It also alludes to its universality, heaven and earth being the limits of the universe for earthbound life. By the use of appropriate words, it keeps a window open for the extendability of the concept to the unreal limits of the limitless universe, that is, to the unmanifest singularity itself. It also points to a schema where this singularity has put in place a cyclical manner of organized working, the natural law or dharma, and its linear functional components, the forces of nature, while itself remaining witness to its eternal progress. This entire hierarchical arrangement is referred to as the truth, with its own hierarchy of truthlets. Ordinary mortals are those that are inclined to be enamored with lower order truthlets and get entangled in their web, while the seers are those that aim for the pinnacle of the hierarchical pyramid, upon the conviction that if they attain it, they attain all, and yet remain unaffected by it, like the immortal Indra. Mandalam 1, Suktam 10, Rik 9.
आश्रत्कर्णश्रुधीहवम् नो चिद्दधिष्वमे गिराः इन्द्रस्तोममिमम् मम दृष्ट्वा युजस्थिदन्तरम्.
Listening ear, do hear the call now. Do hold for me mindful invocations. Indra, do keep this hymn of togetherness inside your mind. Reflections on perceived equalities and notional hierarchies. More exchanges between seekers and the bestower, reflections on perceived equalities and notional hierarchies, about ardent intents, invocative vibrations, and material catalyst transportations from one end, and copious water and grace bequeathal from the other, and communications at a reasonable pace conforming to metrical rules, literary standards, intonational norms from one side, and as blinding lightning and roaring thunder accompanying the welcome and joyful splatter of rain, as well as flashes of truth from the other. These broad features succinctly sum up the substance of this verse, where the visualization of water as truth pouring down from the subtler regions up above upon the grosser one, fully representing the state of duality, is given centrality. The term water is also used to describe the concept of ether that pervades the universe. Guess that correlation is too subtle for the grossness affiliated mortals without first reveling in the ever-inspiring spectacle of a downpour. Mandalam 1, Suktam 10, Rik 10.
हित्वा हित्वा वृषन्तमम् वाजेषु हवनश्रुतम् वृषन्तमस्य होमः भूतिम् सहस्रसातमा
Because we know you upon plenitudes, the foremost of bulls, call hearer, we call upon powerful thousandfold protection of the foremost bull. Mortals, born of truth. The repeated mention of Indra as the bull and clouds as cows is an analogy of the process of reproductive conception and delivery. Water as rain is correlated with the offspring of clouds conceived upon mating with Indra and delivered as rain to sustain life on earth, or the distillation of truth from systemic processes for clarity of understanding. Offspring are also considered wealth, and Indra with his herd of clouds, collectives of water, vapor, or those of truths, are the owners of this wealth. Rainwater or truth of life then becomes wealth to both the bestower as offspring and the receiver as the means of sustenance for physical well-being, while truth does the same for spiritual welfare of both. It is with this conceptual imagination that the verse has been presented. Perhaps this was the manner of making people aware of natural facts and propagating knowledge in the times of yore. At once, these renderings become records of science, technology, poetry, legends, and metaphysical ideas, all relatable to ordinary life happenings. It must have been an appropriate and useful combination as well, considering the actuality that they have survived so many millennia in human cognizance and will continue to, mortals being born of truth. Mandalam 1, Suktam 10, Rik 11.
आतून इन्द्रकौशिकमन्दसानस्फुतम् पीब नव्यमायुः प्रसूतिरगृभी सहस्रसामृषिम्.
Then Indra, Kaushika, do surely drink from me Suma libation, enraptured. Do navigate towards, do make good new life. Seer, appeaser of thousands. Personification of immortals and immortalization of persons. Epithets can be either in the form of language constructs, the connotation of words constituting the epithet alluding to the functional character of its bearer, or legend constructs, where the bearer is linked by relationships to the individuals in a legend. The epithet Kaushika is of both kinds. The word Kushika, of which the former is a derivative, implies that Indra is the materially sheathed or manifest singularity. But so is everything in existence. However, by virtue of Indra's topmost position in the hierarchy of the manifested, the epithet Kaushika applies to him alone and is invoked to guide us through navigating life comfortably and successfully. Legend has it that King Kushika wanted a son like Indra, and so it was that Indra was born to Kushika and was called Kaushika, meaning offspring of Kushika. Sifting truth from legend, one is given to understand that King Gadhi, the given name of Kaushika, was an able ruler and his subjects were an extremely happy lot. He was a seer and appeaser of thousands as a mortal, and as one as an immortal as well. Contrary to the practice of personification of immortals, this is an example of immortalization of a person. On the consideration that the epithet Kaushika applies to all mortals who are essentially immortal spirits in new material sheaths at each birth that they shed at death, the foremost Kaushika, Indra, is invoked to make every new life good and guide them along towards it, a job that he is mandated to do anyway. So this can be seen as another expression of an apparent fact as an invocation. Mandalam 1, Suktam 10, Rik 12.
परित्वा गिर्वणो गिरा इमा भवन्तु विश्वताः वृद्धायुमनुवृद्धयो जुष्टा भवन्तु जुष्टयः.
One who delights in the word, may these invocations become on all sides around you the augmentations for increased lifespans. May the services become loved in return. Quest for permanence. The purpose of life is perceived to be the pursuit of permanence, the ultimate, unrelated, and independent permanence being the unmanifest singularity. There are, however, relative and dependent permanencies in every fractal domain of existence. Our pursuit begins with aiming for such short-term permanencies to prepare ourselves for that eventual quest. And a quest remaining unfulfilled continues in the lifetimes to follow, as they have from earlier ones. Perhaps this is the reason that Astikas, who are all those who consider Vedic thought to be their life guide, seek permanence in all their dealings with societal relationships and material objects and revel in these permanencies. It is also perhaps the reason why the notion of rebirth is a cornerstone of this philosophy. With this notion as a backdrop, the sentiments expressed about the relationship between us and Indra, who is perceived as both a material phenomenon and a living individual, is ardently sought to be raised to a level of permanence. And also, Indra is considered the manifest avatar of the ultimate.
Oh.